watching football when someone's up front. It's like, oh, yeah.
I think it's because I'm watching on TV, and the TV gets it quick dressing.
Two love Djokovic. Ace from Hurkacz out wide, 2-1. Djokovic with the mini break. He's up a set, won the first one on a tie break. Hurkacz had set points. Is he going to get any set points here? He's going to have to start finding more of that first serve.
Here is Djokovic doesn't seem to be harassing Hurkacz's. I mean, I guess he's just having trouble getting a serve back. So this is. I mean, you're just expecting him to harass Hurkacz's forehand like he does Berrettini's backhand, or.
I feel like he feels like he's just got Hurkacz. That's the thing.
Yeah,
I don't think it matters. He's just going to play his game. With Berrettini, you can't play to the forehand. Just go all to the back.
In. Djokovic cross court. Oh, down the line. Ruby Hurkacz back on the serve.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah, but you see that was.
That's why you can't just attack his backhand. Hurkacz has a good backhand.
No, his backhand is great. It's his forehand that breaks down.
Yeah, exactly. So be careful.
Yeah. His backhand is solid.
The best approach shot there from Djokovic. Left himself vulnerable for the passing shot down the line.
Yeah, it was not a good approach shot. Let's see. Oh, just his serve botting though. He's a serve bot. He's turned into a serve bot.
Yeah, good serve there.
So you can't get a ball past. Who can also hit an overhead smash now. I mean, he just doesn't have a weakness. I mean, when's the last time you saw Djokovic miss an overhead smash even?
Wow, he's too clutch.
It's true, yeah. He doesn't miss him now.
He's not.
Doesn't even bother to hit him.
Fixes any small problem, he fixes it.
A lot of people on the women's side have gone against smashing there, aren't they? They've just gone with like this dry volleying instead.
Yeah, I like that.
You're going to do that with the new racket.
Oh, I'm going to do everything with the racket. Then I'm going to return it because I'm playing so poorly. Oh, this is a good rally here.
Yeah, this is better from Djokovic, moving him around. Go to the forehand again. No, he went down the middle.
Djokovic looks like he's
slice. They're both sliced now. Djokovic.
Oh, wow.
I know something good's coming.
Sorry, should I not respond? Should I not react? I mean,
Yeah, you're going to have to delay the reaction just a few seconds.
yeah, I would just try to.
Otherwise, you might as well turn it off.
I'll pretend I'm Rubikina. I'll pretend I'm Rubikina.
Or we'll just leave and leave Zach.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that slice, though. It's like Ashley Barty.
I'm telling you, you don't watch enough Ruby Hurkacz. The kid can play on grass, man.
Yeah, no, he is a very good grass court.
This is his surface. This is where he feels most comfortable.
Maybe I'm coming round to the idea that Hurkacz. Look, Djokovic, they're very impressed with that shot. 3-all, going to the changeover. Hurkacz to serve. We're on serve again. And there's nothing separating these two players today. Let's be honest. I know Djokovic took that first set. But
Oh, sorry. I was. I'm just listening to a. I'm listening to a replay of the tiebreaker. I nearly had a heart attack. Watching it. So I was listening to the replay. And I'm also trying to find revenue numbers for Finger, which I'm having a hard time finding. All right, let me start at the beginning. Hey, Marlon Munoz Sway. John does 666 King. Hey, Chris Griffith. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Dave, I'm doing Science Rule. Well, all right, you guys. The William Show. No, this is going to be the Ham Show. Jennifer, Chris, Dave Allens, Daryl, Armin Oliphant. Oh. Hey, AC. Laurel D. Santa Castillo, Jeff Kendrick, Don J. Jennifer, Chris Daniel, Arnolfo Valle. Oh, Valle. Oh. Valle. Pickleball. KYP has a date to play pickleball with. Hey, Rocky Balboa. Very funny, Rocky Balboa. Been listening to you for over a year, having been through a couple of lawsuits since the pandemic. I can say your somewhat comedic description of lawyers is so very accurate, and you've made me laugh out loud, I guess, many times. That's great. Now they're one of my uncles by my dad's second marriage. He had as his goal never to hire an attorney in his entire life. Hey, Dewey, Ben, Bryson, and Howe. Yeah, we're ready, Dewey. I did, Robert, have a good weekend. If I remember correctly, Robert was, are you like under 6 feet tall, and Greenberg is over 6 feet? I can't remember. I'm scared he's going to hit the old lady in the chest. Lucid, hey, Ryan. Yeah, AC, I think Barentiti. Oh, Lordy. My phone, I didn't mean that to come on. Yeah, Baronetti could take out Alcaraz tomorrow. I have a feeling Rune will beat Dimitrov. Medvedev will go through as well. I don't know. Eubanks could beat Tsitsipas, but I think Tsitsipas will go through, and then Medvedev to beat Tsitsipas. But I have Berrettini beating Rune or Dimitrov, and then Baronetti beating Medvedev. Now, I've obviously changed my original guy lost out. But I can write in now Djokovic. No, I can't write it in. That match is not over. I don't like that overnight delay because it gives what's his name time to recover. Oh, and hey, Jenny. Hey, Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer. That's so kind of you. Someday I'll buy you a cup of coffee and I'll have a glass of water. Just kidding. I hope Eubanks beats Tsitsipas. Yeah, East did a good video. I didn't read. I didn't watch his video yet because I was watching the tennis, and my heart was pounding like that. I was so anxious. But I do think you're right. Ham is starting in. I got to call into him in 8 minutes. Salam alaikum. Abdu alaikum salam. I hope you're well, Abdu Razik. Well, I think Special K, and if I miss somebody, it scrolls so quickly. I think this week it could go. I remember Big John. Hit him in the chest. Hey, Gary Ball. Someone get a divvy, but not us. I don't know what divvy you're talking about. If you're talking about GTII, great video. Yeah, Michael. All right. Thank you very much, Jennifer. And thank you to Iron Man, Ned Stark. He Venmo'd me yesterday, and that was really kind, very kind. I'm humbled by it. So I'm very appreciative, but also humbled. Who do I think is the greatest coach? The one I heard of or the one I never heard of? I will pick. I don't know. I don't know enough about Nick Saban. I think Earl Weaver was the best coach. Thank you, Scott. Well, you know what? We've got to follow. Hey, Randy Youssef, Kifik. Well, Girth, Mike, if Alpine can't meet the margin, they won't, and it'll still get bought in. It's not a prerequisite for the buy-in that they can afford it. They just close out the error. But there's cash there. You want to adopt me? I don't know. I need something. I need something. All right, so 7:24, 5 minutes to the hamster, and I can't find. It's weird. I can't find the revenue, but let me see if it's in here. Quarterly revenue. So KYP. All right, so let's see. The tennis is over. That computer's very slow. Yeah, I'd like to take Lynn down too. Hey, Sada Aman, how are you? I might be going to Congress next week if a couple people come in town. It feels like Alpine has pissed off the 1% off the 1%. Yeah, I think Alpine is really. Oh, they were both at Alabama at Bama, so TKU. I bet Saban was more current in his wokeness, in a good way. I'm not saying anything bad, but just more hip on. But I tell you what, I never played football, and I never had the benefit of a coach like that. But I think those coaches really make men. Do you think Finger Goes it'll get any media attention? Yeah, it would, but how likely is Jeff connected to Lind? Jeff Easton? He is Lind, but I don't know which Jeff you're talking. Jeff, I'm trying to think. I can't. It's not coming in my head which Jeff you're talking about. Jeff. You mean the guy that wrote the article? Maybe that's who you mean? Oh, Jeffries. No, sorry. You can see I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Yeah, Jeffries is definitely on one of their documents, they had Jeffries as their prime broker, along with TD Ameritrade and National Financial or something. But I think it's Jeffries because it's the kind of business Jeffries does. And if your question is, will Jeffries go down? Probably. Will Jeffries cheat the way it looks like Alpine did? By the way, just quickly, everything I say on this is my own opinion, my own judgment, and it's not financial advice. But yeah, I think Jeffries will buy them in. Jeffries is all about Jeffries. Jeffries doesn't care about Lynn Partners. You know, they may argue, hey, we're a big customer, because I looked up Lynn Partners. They've got something like 6, 7, 8 projects they're working on, it looks like. So they're destroying another half a dozen companies. I don't know why this is allowed. I really don't know why it's allowed. All right, one more minute. I'm going to call in. Let me make sure I can get. There it is. I saw, Jenny, I saw you sent me something. I haven't read it yet. Frankly, I was watching the tennis, and I actually enjoyed the women's tennis. I think she's from Poland, was amazing. Jeffries can go down. Jeffries definitely can go. All right, I'm gonna call. You're so impatient. All right, you're ready.
Listen, when you get during the conversation, I want you to say to me.
All right, hang on 1 second. All right, you're on. 7:30.
All right, we're all here. William's here. Welcome again. Again, this is not financial advice. This is our opinions. You can take it with a grain of salt. Do whatever you like. And again, this is not diamond hand securities. You can do whatever you like. Trade it, buy it. No one cares. All right. We're just going to go over a bunch of things. So most people don't understand, but when you work on a Wall Street trading desk, you just don't go home on Friday and walk in at 9:30 on Monday and say we're ready to go and it's off to the races. The best people do a lot of work on the weekends, get ready to attack. One stock may not be, one stock that you had all lined up ready to buy. Everything may change on Monday. It may be down 2, maybe up 5. You don't know. So you may miss an opportunity or get a better chance at an opportunity or, whatever it may be. But you have to work on the weekends at doing this. And, this is a full-time job. It's not easy to make money in the equity market. So thinking that you just wake up and get going is, get that out of your head. You may get lucky a few times, but you're never going to win long-term unless you do the work on it. William, I just want to start off by addressing finger motion first to start with. And I just want people to understand there's plenty of videos of the CEO on Twitter or, I guess on YouTube. You can find it. He's been doing little videos for a while. The gentleman, Martin Chen, speaks perfect English. Listen to him. He lays the whole business out. Some people are posting and finally understanding that in China, if you don't have a phone, you can't exist. Everything's done with a phone. And with the use of the phone, you get to get all the data from it. Finger motion has their fingers in every little aspect of the phone business, from text messaging to now to the insurance, the data. And, when you drive, your phone is in your pocket or in your car. They can tell how fast you're going. They know what you're eating for dinner because you're buying food. They can tell whether you're an alcoholic, you're smoking cigarettes, what you're eating all the time. They can get your life insurance policies. That's why they're dealing with Munich Re, Pacific Life Re. This company is just the beginning, and you can do your own work on it and see what they're touching. But they have a huge population that has money. It's not like it's a poor population. And everything that we do in the U.S., they do there. And Finger Motion is in the front line of this fight. And obviously they got great connections in China, because it would be impossible to get all these contracts and all these connections in the telecom business unless they actually had great people behind them in the country. So these guys have an edge that no one has in that country. Watch the videos, take the time. He speaks perfect. I mean, he outlines it in baby formula, exactly what they're doing. And they're just beginning to rip. You know, guys, you have to understand this. Everyone on this call, anyone who's been involved in a small cap company, to get a press release from a major company saying that they're doing business with you is impossible, because the big companies are afraid that the small companies could drag them into fraudulent activity if they don't do it properly. So to have these companies lend their name to Finger Motion tells you a lot about how powerful Finger Motion is. So again, do your homework on it, understand why you're here. And the reason that most of you here is because you heard about the short squeeze and Lynn Partners and all that nonsense. But again, there's fundamentals behind this play that are tremendous. Everyone's always yelling, where are the fundamentals? Well, just go watch what this company does, and then you'll answer your own question, I believe, and take a look at that. Bill, you have anything to say on that, William?
No, you're doing well. I did want to say that gallium is going to squeeze. I read in Zero Hedge that China is limiting exports of the metal gallium.
Right.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
But again, the company's fundamentals are there. I had the call on Sunday night, so everyone could sort of do their own homework, figure it out, what you're doing, and understand what's best for you and your family. Again, if you're uncomfortable, move to the sidelines. There's nothing you can say. I can't make you comfortable. We're fighting secure. While this company is getting to where it has to go with fundamentals, we have to navigate through security fraud to stay alive. That's what's going on here. And Lynn Point is.
No, I was just wondering, how would, if people wanted to buy tomorrow, whether it's the stock or calls, how would you do it? Are they going to try to attack tomorrow, or? Well,
a good question. Everyone who was on the call Friday got to watch in real time the attack of 250,000 shares sold at the market in the last 8 minutes of the day.
Right.
That is an attempt to, you can actually see, obviously there's a big buyer standing around scooping up those shares. To have 250,000 shares be bought by someone standing there tells you that there's big buyers there. They thought they could just run right down and drive this thing down 2 points, selling 250,000 at the market. Well, they ran into a brick wall and they sucked it all up. I think if the market was open another 10 minutes, I think we would have made an attempt at the 527. But they attacked so fast. This is, like I said, kamikazes. This is a technique that they use. They try to create like a fire drill, everybody in a panic. That's what they try to do. They try to find people's stop loss orders and make you get bailed out. All right? I'm sure someone had a stop loss order in at 470 and got taken out at 430. That's what they do. They force you to sell it. So again, these are tactics that they use all the time. I posted on Twitter. I copied the SEC. If you can't see the security fraud right there, I posted on Friday, you're blind. I mean, that is complete fraudulent activity. Just think about 250,000 shares down 50 cents is over $100,000 in a loss. No one sells stock like that. Stevie Cohen doesn't sell stock like that. Okay, they work out of the stock. They try to work out of it higher. They're not here to lose money. You're not here to pay $4 for it, have the stock go to $5 and sell it back to $4. That's not what they do. No one does that. This is not normal trading when you see things like that. That's why we bring it to your attention. Understand the signs. You can take advantage of the attacks. That's a different. That's something you got to be, But they scare the shit out of everybody when they do those attacks. Everyone, panics and starts running around in circles. Not the EF hunting people. They're old timers. They understand that when you attack, when they're throwing them out the window, EF hunting's out there buying. That's the type of people. Those are the old timers. They know what to do. So again, this is new to a lot of people here. These attacks are common. We know it. That's a sign of desperation, panic, you name it. That's what they're doing. Yeah. Any questions, Lou? My question to buying. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is how I look at it. The stock traded at 505. Obviously, someone has an appetite to take this stock higher. So if it was me purchasing tomorrow, this is my opinion. I use a level. I would start out the day using a $5 top and see what happens. They may sell it to me lower. I may miss it, but I'm not going to chase it. If let's say the stock opens up and starts running, I'm not a chaser. So I like to do is like to pick a level. I'll go 5 cents below what the high was on Friday and say, okay, if they're willing to sell it down here, I don't mind paying up 30 cents for it, but I'm not going to chase it. On the options, I can't tell what they're going to do. Options is the supply and demand. In the stock, it would normally be supply and demand, but these guys counterfeit shares. They create their own supply. So on the options, they may open the options higher. Let's say the sevens. I think they closed.
I think they created 8s. Believe it or not, I saw 8s on E-Trade earlier today. We'll find out, I guess, but.
Well, they did create the 8 calls.
Well, it shows on E-Trade when I looked.
Hold on, let me give you a second.
There's no bid and ask, but there, of course, it's all time premium, and they love to just take that from people.
Well, you know what, William? You said something that's very interesting. Time premium. When we started talking about. I see them. They opened up the 8s.
Yeah.
When we started talking about this, the $2 calls were a nickel to 10 cents, right?
Yeah. I bought some of them.
The $2 calls hit a high of 3 on Friday. The $3 calls,
I didn't.
a nickel and dime. All of them were a nickel and dime. Now they're rolling the money. All right, so this stock has the makings of a gamma squeeze, which I posted on Twitter so you can read about that. Remember, when you buy a call, the person that's selling it to you is short now, and the way a market maker hedges himself is he goes out and buys stock to cover his short. He doesn't want to be exposed. The more the stock keeps moving up, the more in the red they are, and they're actually... you're starting to see a panic because it's rolling higher. It's actually starting to do a gamma squeeze. All right? It's not the 50 or 100,000 contracts that you see in Alibaba or GameStop, but these options that I got, 3,000 open interest, it starts to add up. And these guys are starting to buy the stock. As the stock's moving up against them, they have to cover because they're short. Okay, it's different than the naked short. The option market maker could be, just an option market maker trying to make a, buck in this stock. But now he's going against the short, and he's got the longs trampling him, and he's starting to panic himself. So what could set off the short squeeze here? It could be the option market maker panicking to cover. There's over 30,000 open interest on the calls. That's 3 million shares of stock. If he turns and starts to panic, he can create the squeeze. There's big buyers around. They can create the squeeze. Jeffries and Company, we figured out that I found a document that Lynn Partners filed somewhere. I forgot where we got it from. But in there, it states that Jeffries is their prime broker. They also use, I think it was TD and NFS, Fidelity. But Fidelity and TD are basically retail accounts. They probably do some nonsense through there.
NFS is Fidelity National, whatever, Financial Services. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So they're not big hedge fund type operators. Those are more retail. They probably have an account there like everyone else. but Jeffries is more of a hedge fund type operation. So Jeffries is probably the direct hit on who their prime is.
So would you buy the 8 calls, or is that ridiculous?
Listen,
I can't.
If the 8 calls open up, to me, if the 8 calls open up at 10 to 15 cents, I buy the shit out of them. If it was me, I'd buy 5,000 of them if they would sell them to me, because that would create, these guys have to go out and buy the stock, and it just, next thing they'll open the 9 calls and the 10 calls, and it just keep forcing the issue. These guys have sold so many shares, they're running out of steam. So let's take a step back for a second, William. So we talked about how I would approach it. I would use a level. I never put a market order in. If you do want to buy it, the only way to do it is you buy half and bid for half.
Right.
That's it. If you want to buy 100 shares, you could buy 50 shares, you know, paying $5.50 for it, and bid 5 for 50. That's the way I would do it.
So
I always, because it's called legging into a trade. I leg into it nice and easy.
what if tomorrow they hit it before the open, and what if tomorrow they can't drive it down? How would you buy in those two different scenarios?
Well, if I'm a believer now, when they knock it down, you know, like I said, buy 50 shares on the opening, and as they start to drive it down, buy 10, 10, 10, 10. Try to catch the bottom until it swings and turns.
Average in, yeah.
Average in. I'd be happy. Listen, people like this, when they, if you wanted to buy a stock and they're knocking it down, you made your determination. Nothing's changed. The story hasn't changed from where we are now till tomorrow morning. Nothing's changing. What's changing? It's just a kamikaze attack. That's all it is. And the only reason they would attack in the AM is because they got a severe margin call.
Well, to me, there's a difference between the symbiotic relationship, it appeared, between Alpine and Power Up Lending and all their LLCs. There's a difference. They seem to be working together. I'm not sure Jeffries is going to support the stupidity of the Lynn partners.
No, I listen, I was just looking at the puts in Jeffries. If this continues higher without them buying it in, and Jeffries is the prime, just looking at what happened in Credit Suisse, there's a delayed reaction. So you have to go out a little bit, but there's plenty of cheap puts in Jeffries, because if Lynn is going to actually get blown up here, the direct hit, that document we saw, Lynn had $190 million in their fund. That's not going to go too far in this game, down $150 million every dollar. It's not going to last so long. As a matter of fact, I don't think there's anything left, if you ask my opinion.
Here's a gentleman asking. He's got every strike price out there. It's like the rainbow or the zebra. But anyway, he's thinking about exercising his 2s and 3s and actually buying the stock at 2 or 3 and then holding the rest of the calls. Is that a reasonable strategy?
Yeah, well, you can see the calls go to parity, right? You
Right.
pay 10 cents for them, 20 cents for them. Now they're at parity. They trade with the stock.
Yeah, there's
So
no premium.
There's no premium in them, so I mean it doesn't make a difference. But again, you could see these guys. Obviously the options are hurting them. But I'm a firm believer in that. You know what? If you're up $3-4 in it, why not take that money off the table and just roll into those calls, the 7 or 8s, and take a free shot. Your risk is off the table, and you got home run capabilities on cheap calls. That's how I look at it.
One gentleman, I forget who it was, but he pointed out the last time we all got excited on something, they slammed us down, and I guess there's a risk to that. But the other side of it is, I'm not sure that this is a kamikaze group the way the Kramers, then Alpine, and then the people that attacked GTII. It doesn't feel that way to me. I don't know what you think.
But listen, I've been doing this a long time. This is a completely different time in this game. The MMTL people have broken down so many doors that people don't understand, that these people actually getting stuff done. They've got FINRA upside down, the SEC upside down, politicians. Everybody's on top of this game. Sabby was just busted for his naked short selling scheme. This game has changed. The DOJ said they're going to act in a couple of months. That was 2 months ago. So that's coming to a head. These guys, if they continue playing, are going to face jail time, not these penny ante fines anymore. They're going to go to jail. It's just very different than 2 years, 20 years ago. It's very different. So I disagree that the attacks, I think the attacks are coming to an end. I think Lynn Partners is going to fold. I told you, I think Lynn Partners is very different than the GTI crooks. Lynn Partners is a Madison Avenue group. They're just going to put their hands up and walk out their door and say, hey, we're busted, we're broke.
Well,
That's
what
it.
do you think might have happened over the weekend with Jeffries? It's possible tomorrow morning they're buyers, that Lind and Jeffries, all the LLCs are buyers because they're not going to put up capital.
I jotted down all the positive and negatives that can go through what could happen in our favor, what could go against us.
Mm-hmm.
And, you got Jeffries calling it in, the SEC, the DTC, fails to deliver, could be called in at any time. Wes Christian is on the case with Finger Motion. Share and Tell, they're documenting everything that's going on here. All right, so I look at it and said, okay, the fundamentals of the company is strong. All the legal stuff, all the SEC, FINRA, DOJ stuff is all positive on our side. Jeffries is going to have to make it. There's margin problems. What's the negative? I don't even know what it is. I couldn't find the negative. I'm fine with the company on fundamentals. I keep telling people, watch the video. This company is so tied into China in such a good way. It's just a matter when, this thing really starts to kick off.
Well, and you mentioned that the insiders own a lot of this company, so it's a lot.
We'll talk about that in a second.
All right.
But I'm saying the fundamentals, to me, in my opinion, the stock is worth a lot more wherever it is, no matter what.
Right.
So I don't believe anything that's going on here. The stock belongs. The stock was at $9 when I got listed on the NASDAQ. So to me, I know we belong higher than that. So I'm not concerned about it. I know it'll straighten itself out. We're looking for a short squeeze, and what I look at, and I try to convey to everybody, is Finger Motion looks to me like Volkswagen. Why does it look like Volkswagen? It's because of the ownership of the shares are increasing, and it's all insiders, and that's exactly what happened with Volkswagen and Porsche. No one knew that Porsche had that big stake in the company, caught everybody short, and it changed the whole game, and that's when you got the panic. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. And Finger, that is the curveball, the catalyst that's going to make this erupt. Will it go to the heights of a Volkswagen? I don't know, but it has the same, the catalyst is exactly the same. Besides the fundamentals and everything else and the options and all that crazy stuff, that to me is the change of ownership is so huge, and it's such a small company that these guys have the whole thing is basically owned by a few people already.
Well, Jenny, who's a hard worker, a big supporter of yours, Jenny L., she just pointed out, once this starts going, it'll be like putting your fingers in a hole in the Hoover Dam. You're not going to be able to stop it.
It's very different. It's got the same feeling, the same fundament. It has that same. When Volkswagen went, they weren't selling. There wasn't a car for sale in the world. The whole world was collapsing when Volkswagen went. So Volkswagen had no fundamental value when that was going. So everybody understands that. The auto industry was collapsing. They weren't selling any cars. All that changed was the ownership. That's what lit that up. Finger Motion has tremendous fundamentals, a big short, a short on the ropes, option gamma ready to go, and here we are. On top of it, we have insiders increasing their stake with institutional people buying shares. It's completely This is almost the same thing. The same that they have the same catalyst that could take this thing off, with more positive stuff behind it. Remember, Volkswagen lost all its business. They had nothing.
What's the difference, one gentleman asks, between covering and a buy-in? And I guess he's asking that.
Buy-in has to be guaranteed securities. You can't. They're not going to. First of all, they're going to shut down them from selling anymore. And when they go out to buy stock, everyone's going to have to deliver a real share. So this can go on for days trying to find these shares.
And in both cases, I would imagine there would be no selling. So,
well, that is the most deadly part from a Volkswagen squeeze or a GameStop squeeze or AMC, whatever squeeze you want. The finger motion people, I say 90% are super educated, maybe 100% by now. GTII, it's 150% everyone's educated. That is the most educated crowd of them all. And those two, the formula is, if everybody knows what's going on, when the stock starts running, not everybody's going to flip it to make 20 cents.
Right.
Oh, I'm up $1. Let me get out. I've been here for 2 years. I'm going to make 50 cents. I'm out of here. I think that people understand the risk reward here and why you're involved in these names. A short squeeze, an educated group. Listen, I was in GameStop. Not many people understood what was going on. And when the stock ran, I told you I had educated people, big hedge funds in here. They were flipping it for $5, $10, calling me up and thanking me to the high heavens for the great trade. Then it was up another 100. Then another 200, and they all look like idiots because they had no idea. Everyone was flipping it. I believe that the people in GTI and finger motion are super educated and understand the potential of a short squeeze because you've all seen it in GameStop now. Most people on this phone have lived through a GameStop short squeeze, and they can see what happens when it really falls.
The $5.27 number. Is it worth talking about that?
Yes. I think there'll be an assault on that number this week, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Tom Ronk, he calculates that $5, maybe 26 cents now. It can maybe come down a little bit more. But that is a number where the algorithms will turn off on the sell side and go to the buy side. That's when they know they have to begin to cover. So instead of when someone goes to buy 100 shares, they short 95 and they let 5 go by. This may be they're not going to short any and they're going to buy. They're going to buy with you, so it's going to turn it. We'll see what happens. That's what Tom says. So,
well, many people have talked about that they own mainly GTII, and I guess it's a good time to point out that. Well, I won't speak for you, but I'll ask you. Do you think Finger will help GTII if it goes? Do you think the movement in Finger to the upside would be beneficial to GTII? Or maybe just talk about GTII separately?
No, I'm working towards it. So Finger Motion, obviously, the last time they ran, they both ran together. So to answer your question, 100%, they will help. They do help each other. All right. Last time we talked more about GTI and Finger took off first. I mean, they go when they go. They're two different short sellers, two different. Each one has their own problems. The short sellers, the Kramers and Alpine on one side, Lynn's on this side, and so I do believe that. Again, for anybody who doesn't know, we were buying Wolf below $1, WULF. Based on Bitcoin mining and whatever they were doing, and
they were also with that toxic firm,
right? Yorkville.
Yorkville.
And my group of friends bought 6 million shares, and they've been selling Wolf not because they're not happy with Wolf. They're selling it because they wanted to buy GTII. And lo and behold, you saw it on Friday. I told you they used $1.10 top. Maybe on Monday they use $1.25 top to buy it. I don't know. See what happens with Wolf. But they're accumulating GTII in size, and I believe they will continue. And they're only doing it for one reason, because they know The short seller in GTII, just to change it for a second, GTII is the only company that has proof from the depository trust that there's naked shorting in the stock. No company has that in writing. No one. Okay? That's from the depository trust. The depository trust is the almighty God on Wall Street. That's the most important function of Wall Street, and they put it in a court document which everyone can read. People ask, why haven't they shut down Alpine yet? Why don't they execute the people that murdered 100 people? They have them in jail, and they're still trying to buy time to stay alive. That's what I believe they're doing. I don't know when they shut them down, but Alpine is definitely not coming out of this attack by the regulatory bodies as Goldman Sachs. So it's just a matter of when. They're stalling for a reason. You know, they're paying their lawyers all these fees and stalling and making noise, but they really have no business left. It's just a matter of when they shut them down and force them to close out all their positions.
Yeah. Somebody was asking, well, if they don't have the money to meet $2.5 million or whatever it was, 2.3 million fee, how are they going to afford a buy-in? And I think that's a misunderstanding of what a buy-in is.
Well, I put it up on Twitter. There's a gentleman that was short a stock at E-Trade. The stock went from $1 to 20. E-Trade bought him in immediately, and the man lost $125,000. It's all over Twitter. I put it up 100 times. E-Trade is the retail investors' prime broker. Right. They bought him in. He had no money, and they bought him in. That's just how it goes. And then what do? They send their lawyers after him to get the $125,000. Alpine is Kramer's prime broker. They're supposed to take the hit for them. That's why they're not putting up any more money, because they know this is going to be a deadly blow. So Alpine's eventually going to fold, right? And then it's up to the depository trust to clean it up. That's how it works. That's the final frontier on Wall Street. And that's why that's why the SEC, the FNGR, the DTC are going after Alpine, because they actually could create a big blow to the financial system with all the security fraud that they committed here. They're supposed to be Alpine's supposed to be a gatekeeper, not a partner in the crime.
Right. 2 or 3 questions on this, which you may or may not be able to answer, but do you know where it stands with the, I don't know what to call them, the larger whales or the HKD investors, or the people you met with a couple of weeks ago?
Well, I don't control them. Obviously, someone's buying the stock, right?
Yep.
If you can't see the accumulation, then you need to go do something else. Because spotting accumulation is an important part of Wall Street. You can see, when a Fidelity or a Stevie Cohen buys a stock, you got to be able to spot them. Okay? They try to tiptoe in to these stocks without moving them. Because remember, they want to get the best prices for themselves, right? Before the upside activity goes, So let's say if Apple's got a new, phone coming out, and these guys get wind of it first, they want to tiptoe in quietly before the news comes out. Think about Tesla was falling apart, and all of a sudden their China sales went through the roof, and the stock went up 40 points. You think someone knew about it when it was falling apart? They were buying it like crazy? I'm sure somebody did, right?
Right.
That's Wall Street. That's how it goes. So they like to tip in, get in at the best prices for them, not for you. So could big buyers be accumulating here? Absolutely, somebody's accumulating. Obviously, they took it up to $5 the other day. Okay, I can't confirm it. I haven't seen the buy tickets, but it's not me. I was on the phone with you guys. I wasn't doing anything.
I mean, in my judgment, it's unlikely they would just suddenly stop buying, but
listen, if anyone knows the story, and I showed many people the proof. I showed them the truck. I showed them this. I showed them the data from Tom Ronk. I showed them this, that, the other thing. not just, I did it today. I pitched 4 guys today at the pickleball court, 4 brokers who are talking to me. And I talked to them all about it, whether they buy it or not, we'll see tomorrow. But again, this is something you have to determine yourself. There's signs when you can see a big buyer coming into the stock. All right. People are buying calls. It's not me. I'm not buying all the calls. People are buying calls. What they do is they buy the calls first, and then they start buying the stock. That's what you see. That's what I see.
So,
And and when they attacked, someone bought 250,000 shares in a quick 3 or 4 minutes. And if you do the math, 300,000 times 4, it's a lot of money they put up in 30 seconds, whatever it was, 3 minutes, the attack, right?
Yep.
There weren't people standing there with 500 shares to buy, that's for sure, right?
Yep.
And this is not very different than GTII, where we used to see the Kramers washing stock back and forth. This is different. I don't see that here. This is not the washing machine stock. GTII is the washing machine stock.
I was looking. Here's NJ. She's upset. She got stopped out at 495, 497. You can buy back in.
Wait, you got stopped out at 497?
Yeah, but she still made $5,000 and still has 1,000 shares left. Well, you can still buy.
So there you go. Then you're welcome. You're a winner. That's
Yeah,
how it
you're
goes.
a winner. That's true.
That you made $5,000. You got 1,000 shares. There's nothing to worry about. You got a free ride to the promised land.
Will this July expiration cause a squeeze or a gamma squeeze? Do you
July
think?
expiration for everyone who doesn't understand options. You got 10 days, 10 trading days before they expire. If you're nervous that your options are expensive, you could sell your 3s, 4s, or 5s and move to the 6s. And you know what? You're rolling the dice with your profit. That's the way to look at it.
And that's not a bad thing to do. Maybe you even roll out to August if you want. It costs you more money.
I don't like to buy. I don't like to pay for premium. So to me, I rather play with the front month, because if it's not going to work, the back month, the next month is going to be just as cheap.
So maybe just keep some dry powder. If it doesn't run by July, you can buy the August then.
Listen, you stay on the sideline, watch it go. You got 1,000 shares, and you just sit with it. That's all. You got 5,000 in profit. That's a tremendous month. $5,000. Think about that.
I was looking and I couldn't find it. Finger Motion made their financials for the year announcement on May 30th, but their third quarter they made on January 17th. So I'm guessing that to do a whole year took a little longer. But if they did January 17th for the third quarter, they may have an earnings report before the options expire, because we're coming up on July 17th, if I'm roughly estimating.
Listen, I can't keep track of the dates. I can't address that. I don't know. But if you just look at the trend, what's the trend in their revenue? Which way is it going?
That's what I was going to ask you. What can you explain their revenue and maybe the power of it now that they have, I think, 10 or 13 million in cash?
The company's main business was a top-up business, meaning that, remember, we used to all buy a phone card to get phone minutes. You used to buy a card. In China, they used to use the phone card. You pay it, and you get a phone card. But Alibaba, I believe, and Tencent was selling phone cards to billionaires. The billionaires were taking the phone cards to Singapore, selling the cards on a website, and the money was going out of China. Chinese didn't like that, so that's what Finger Motion was born from. Finger Motion created a service where they're a go-between the telecoms and the consumer. So you go to Finger Motion, you pay Finger Motion $1, and they buy the minutes for 99 cents from the telecom, and you get your minutes. If you pay $1, they make a penny, and they just and then everyone has to do it this way, and the numbers are just massive. But to keep this going, FingerMotion needed money, it's like a trading account. FingerMotion now has, like, I think $15 million in the bank, or whatever the number is.
Yeah.
They probably turn that over 5 times a day, making those small margins all day long. So it's driving revenue like crazy. So, you know, on a given day, they turn $15 million over 4 or 5 times, buying minutes and selling them. You know, tomorrow they may have $15,100,000. The next day, $15,200,000, and they just keep that money rotating. It just keeps driving revenue. So the revenue is exploding. They have the text messaging business that they do. Everyone understands that. In China, you just can't send out a text message if you're a BMW dealership to your clients. You got to go get it approved by the government or FingerMotion. They get it approved, and then they charge you a rate to send out the message. You just can't spam the world in China. So they have to go through FingerMotion. So every company in China that wants to send a message out has to pay FingerMotion for the right to send it out. All FingerMotion has to do is get the approval of the government of what you're trying to say. That's another business. Then you got the data, for the insurance business. They're working on that. This has been going on a while. Now they're working on the cell phone insurance. So just think about, I said Apple Care, that's how he describes it. You buy a phone. In China, they want everyone to insure their phones. It's the most important piece of technology everyone has in China. There's no more money. They use your phones. So the Chinese government wants the telecoms to charge people insurance, a few bucks a month, whatever it is. It turns out to be $7 or $8 a month as part of your package. And it's let's say it's $100 a year. What's the breakdown of the $100? You know, I hear that it's AIZ gets 50, the Chinese telecom gets 25, and FingerMotion gets $25 out of 100. How many people are in China buying cell phones? You do the math. When this little thing kicks off, wait till you see that number, and it doesn't cost them anything because AIZ is the one that's repairing the phones. They're just a broker on the transaction and getting a fee for being in the middle of it. That's an enormous business.
Yeah.
But it's right there. You just watch the CEO. He'll tell you the story. That's where I learned it.
And the Netflix. I mean, it seems like over 5 or 6.
I don't understand they just signed a deal with the Netflix of China. I don't understand how that works, but, you know, we'll figure it out down the road. I don't know that.
But it seems like once it's over $5, $6, $7 or 300 million, whatever the cutoffs are, this is an institutional story just on its own without this.
Oh no! Listen. The company is not Wall Street savvy. This will become a Wall Street major story down the road. This is something the Chinese government believes in these people and is basically. Let me use this term. The way I see it looks like they're putting all the winning trades into FingerMotion. That's what it looks like to me. And they're building a mini Alibaba here that no one's paying attention to. That's right. This is something that is building to be a monster, and their partners are again Munich Re, Pacific Life Re, AIZ. Just go look. AIZ is a $10 billion U.S. company, insurance company. They insure all the cell phones in the United States.
It's hard to here's somebody, Igaris, pointing out. I think she was in Cambodia. All they use on their phones is SIM cards daily. And you buy data, everything goes through the phones. It's hard to explain in America, but that's how it is done. So top-up business is huge. It's probably low margin, but it's as safe as a T-bill or safer.
It's just, we described it. It was described to me a long time ago as a toll booth. Just keep throwing the pennies in the toll booth. You just keep the arm goes up, pay the toll. That's it. Just keep paying the tolls. That's it.
Right. Somebody's asking, will failure to delivers just be moved around and around and around and around like they did, he's suggesting, with GTII and others?
I think that I just described to you that That's the old daisy chain, what's been going on for a long time. They keep shuffling these things around. This is a different time. The DOJ, the SEC going after Savvy. If you read the Savvy complaint, they know exactly what's going on. So everybody knows what's going on. The heat is on. There's attorneys, West Christian, Basel Law Firm can go after these guys for usury fraud, RICO charges. This is a very, very different time. I've been doing this 23 years. This is super different, and I feel we're at the end of the game. So, if you don't like GTI or Finger, go pick your own poison and go find whatever it is. But again, I've been studying GTI for 3 years and Finger Motion for 5 years. Okay, that's it. I've been following Kodak for a couple of years. I stopped talking about it the other day. It jumped a point and a half. I looked the other way. It jumped up like crazy. I've been following it for a long time. But again, you can't play them all. I'm not Fidelity Management. I can't just buy everything.
A gentleman here, Kit Kitteridge, which is a great name, points out that they call it loading the phone, LOAD, and it's the largest market in the world.
It's everyone has to do it. Every day they're buying phones. They're buying new phones. They're going to 5G. Insurance is required on the 5G. Let me just change the subject for a second. Listen, fundamentals. Watch the CEO's videos. Just help yourself. It's right there. It's Sunday night. He's got a bunch of them. Watch the CEO speak, and he'll just walk you through it, and he tells you exactly what the business is. It's right there in front of you. They have the blessing of the Chinese government, obviously. I talked about Kodak. We talked about how Kodak, I keep reaching out. If they force settlement in Kodak, this thing can really run. Okay, again, I'm trying to get the politicians. I don't own it. I want the politicians to save the city of Rochester. Me and William met with the representatives of Rochester. The town's falling apart. People are leaving, moving out. There's crime, no jobs, and this can turn it around. We told them right to their face. Am I correct, William?
Yes, you did.
All right, so we did it, and we went to Stefanak's office, and we reported it to her, correct?
Yes.
3 times, and they remembered us every time we went back there, correct?
Yes, they did.
Okay, just let me change it for a second. All right, excuse me for a second. I told you about Wolf, people moving from Wolf into GTII. Why do they want to buy GTII? They think it's a great turnaround, and this is, these things have to start in levels again. The people in GTI thought we're giving up on them. That's completely false. All right? We got into Wolf. Our good friends all made a lot of money in Wolf now, and they're coming back to help us out. Okay? We can't buy endless stock. I think the GTII, if you bent my arm, I think we're close with the new issued dividend. We're at 400 million shares. Okay, I don't really post that every day. I don't count it anymore because it's out of control. The other day they sold another 1 million like it's nothing. 1 million a day, it just grows like crazy. All right, I would use, if you said to me, what would you do on GTII? I would use a level, pick a number, close at 112. Just add another 12 cents. Let's say on tomorrow, I would use a 125 top. It may open at $1.50 and I miss it, but I'm going to sit there and, buy the dips. Or if I want, I would buy half and bid for half. It's the same mentality I use in all my trading. It's how you do it. You try to average in. I wrote a couple of notes down. We talked about Jeffries. We talked about the margin. On margin on both GTII and Finger Motion, the prime brokers determine the margin. Okay, so let's talk about for Finger for a second. The percentage or the dollar amount that these guys have to put up is the stocks went from $1.50 up to $5. The number is massive. If you're the prime broker, you're asking for almost $10 a share in margin money. That cannot be touched. You can't do anything with it. You need to put that up as margin. The prime broker is looking at it saying the stock is 5. If it continues higher, I need to protect ourselves. So as the stock moves up, the number can go from 10, can go to 11, can go to 12. They make up their numbers. depending on, the customer and how much money they have. Obviously,
And they can
Lynn
do it in the
Marcus-
middle of the day.
Oh, they can do it at any time. They need to protect themselves. They call you up. You need to either have cash, and my friend worked for Jeffries. It's either cash or you got to put up for treasuries immediately. It's got to be in there. You got to put up something immediately. No one's going to take the hits for these guys. Jeffries could be wiped out at $20 to $30 in finger motion. It could be the next Credit Suisse.
I was going to ask you that. It seems like we were talking about it. They have $7 or $8 billion in market cap, and if you have 100,
that doesn't mean they have a couple of $1 billion to blow out the window. Credit Suisse was around for 140 years, and I put it up there a long time ago when that guy, I forget the name, Arkelos, whatever his name is.
yeah, Bill Huang at ARK.
Right. When he
Argos.
he blew them out for $6 billion. I said the system can't just take hits like this. $6 billion is massive.
Yep.
And what happened in a couple of months or whatever, a year, what Credit Suisse is gone, zero. Everyone who worked there, who looked the other way, who wasn't keeping track and giving leverage to people that didn't deserve it, they all lost their careers. They lost everything.
That might be where that 19 million shares to buy Vansi is reminding me.
Right.
They called in to GTII 3 times.
Right. So I wanted to talk about the difference between GTI and finger for a second.
Great.
I talked about finger motion reminded me of Volkswagen because of the structure, the increase of ownership. All right, that's why it looks like Volkswagen. To me, that is a catalyst. The catalyst is on the table already. Just look at it. Read Volkswagen. Read that story again. I posted it 50 times. Read it. It tells you exactly, and finger motion has done the exact same thing. Insiders are loading up. Institutions own it all. There's no stock. It's exactly the same thing. And that's why I compare it to Volkswagen. It's not GameStop, it's a Volkswagen. And you people say, what about GTI? What about GTI? Well, I've been going through all the short squeezes of all time, and I'm trying to find the perfect one that represents GTII. And there was one from 2008, I think it was. No, 1998. Excuse me, 1998. Safeguard Scientific, Sam Frank Eddy. I posted it a while ago. I think that the high on the stock was $1,500 after the splits. They did forward splits. And, the stock went from 300 or 500 to, and they split it 3 for 1, and the stock was now $500 a share after the forward split. So now you had 3 $500 shares. And to me, that reminds me of GTII, something like Safeguard Scientific, Sam Frank Eddy. You can go back and look in 1988. I believe that was the high in that stock. So there's many short squeezes that we don't remember. So I'm just trying to find the one that represents each company the best. And Volkswagen reminds me of finger motion and the ownership curveball. And Safeguard reminds me of GTII as of right now. It may change. Is it a Taser? Is it Andrea Electronics? Is it this one or is it GameStop? GameStop was something that was the institutions knew about. These are not institutional stocks, so it's very different. I posted about GameStop because the institutions already owned 180% of the float. So that was something that you can actually see. GTII, we have the ultimate. We have proof from the depository trust about naked short selling. When I did my reports on GameStop, I used it based on institutional ownership and had to guess the rest of it. I didn't have all the information. So that's how I based it, the difference between the two. GameStop, I used institutional ownership, and I actually based the rest of my calculations on, since it was a retail stock, what number we came up to. I think I was up to 250%. In GTII, we don't have the institutional ownerships, but we have the proof from the depository trust. So my fear in GTII is that eventually Alpines are going to get hung. They're going to get exposed. They're going to have to start covering these shares sooner or later. Why are they delaying it? Obviously, they're hoping that we fell apart and we're going to go away, but that's not true.
Well, someone's here Sergio's saying, if only GTII reminded him of HKD. GTII is still the best setup that you've
Well,
seen.
listen, I just showed you. San Francisco went to $1,500.
Right.
Okay, not everything's going to be an HKD or a GameStop. I'm trying to pick what I believe that exactly mirrors what we are seeing here. Okay, now I think that, in my opinion, I think GTI could be a HKD, absolutely. And the reason it can be is because of education, Sergio.
Right.
Everybody understands it. You know, when the stock jumps, let's say, you know, tomorrow it jumps from here to $25, what's going to be the rush to sell? Maybe 5 million, 8 million shares, okay? But that means new funds will be buying it, and the short seller will be covering it. So the next day it could be $60 or $80. What's sold? 10 million shares? The next day could be 50 million shares. We've still got 300 million to go. I mean, there's plenty. You know, if everybody ran out the door, I'll give you an example of everybody running out the door. The greatest protector of a naked short or a short seller is a corporate takeover. So let's say a stock was 50, they knock it down to 5. I'll give you an example. There's one just came to my mind. ROOT. The stock was 30. Naked shorted to $1. They reversed it back up to 25. The shorts drove it back down again to $3 or $4, and it recently got a takeover bid. So all the shorts that they did before, that all goes away because the company is now going to be acquired. So these guys stole 80% of the money, and 20% they break even on. I'll take that trade every day from the short side. So once the company gets taken over, they put a top. There's no more short squeeze. The top is cemented. That's it. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I understand it.
Right. So that is the holy grail for the short sellers when a company gets taken over. Because that means it's all dead and buried. The whole thing goes away.
Right. They're amazing. They have it figured out. On GTII, can you, 3 things. It seems like the Kramers have disappeared. What's your squeeze number on that, if there is one? And can you talk about the blue zone water?
I don't know what the squeeze trigger is. That's why we like to test the waters and move up and use levels. My friends were using $1.10 level. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow they're going to use $1.25 level. So we just got to keep. It's like we were on patrol in Vietnam. We don't know where the ambush is. That's what it's like.
Okay.
I don't have to describe it any other way. That's what it seems like. We're walking in the woods, and we're like, is it $1.25? Is it $1.40? You can see at the stock was at 82 cents that they stopped pushing it down. I just kept saying that these guys they were maintaining it, and they wanted you to sell the stock. Right. Now that the stock is turned, the momentum is turned the other way. Now they have a big problem because where are they going? They can't push it back down because they know there's buyers around now. Where are they going? How high can they let it go? I don't know. I mean, how high can they let it go before they get the margin call?
Well, and they have to buy back. What'd you call it? Guaranteed shares.
Yeah. So listen, once that begins, it's all over with. Now remember, people, we have a shareholder that knows the people out in San Diego, and there's a criminal charge coming against somebody, a short seller, for defrauding that brokerage firm out in San Diego. I don't know when it's coming, but they told me that there's definitely going to be arrest in that case.
The Kramers are out of the trade now, right?
I don't believe they're here.
And can you discuss the water deal?
Yes, it's water. It's the stuff that you see in your toilet bowl and your sink.
I see you have a good knowledge of water.
Yes, it's everywhere. Obviously, as much as I know about it, is the busy brands was nice enough to bring it to the table. And we passed it on to the company, and it's obviously the Blue Zone is the best water in the world. I had a gentleman calling from Arizona, and I actually introduced him to the water people because he has connections to Fiji and some other water companies looking to do business. So once they folded into GTI. There's a ton of avenues. You even had contacts in Saudi Arabia that you would like to introduce us to buy water. Everyone's looking for clean water, so if this is all good, I mean, this is what it is.
Speaking of busy, he asked earlier via my little scroll, were they on Friday? Were they trying to kill the $4 and $5 calls by driving the stock down?
Obviously.
Yeah, they wanted the
Everything's
premium.
That's what I tried to tell Mark Bazile the other day. I says, besides the stock being manipulated, these guys are manipulating the option market also. So as an attorney, you guys got to take your head out of your asses and understand that too. I know it's not their business, but this is a different avenue for them to look at. They're manipulating the option markets too. And we seen that 3 Fridays ago, I think it was, where they knocked the calls down from $25 to $2 within a second on the last trade of the day.
Right.
Crayon E to put that up there, a great photo of it. The 100,000 shares they crossed on the last tick of the day. I mean, it went 359, 59 tick, and it was over. And they crossed it down, and everyone who had options that were worth $25 but now worth $2 at the last second.
On Friday, there were rumors of a 2 million share or $10 million buy of Finger. Is any of that still out there?
Well, today is Sunday, so I don't know.
Right. Okay.
Tomorrow.
I mean, it didn't look like it got filled on Friday.
No, listen. The people that are buying it are real. I can't tell you what they bought, what they didn't do, but my sign to me is someone bought 250,000 in a blur on an attack, and they withstood and took it all in. And that was the end of the day when that happened. And when someone attacks in the last second of the day, or these guys are attacking. When did they attack? If anyone's paying attention, it's always done at 9:30 in the morning and the closing of the day. There's your attacks. Go back and look at history. Every day is the same stupid pattern.
The whales who have, I don't know what else, this is the gentleman's question.
Let me just give you this, William, because people keep asking the same questions. Never count on whales, whatever you want to call them. People have been told the story. They all understand the story. They make their own determination like you. They're not here to help us out.
Exactly.
So I don't count on anybody. Are they here? Absolutely. I see the fingerprints of big players around. I see it. If you don't learn, understand how to see it, because that's part of trading. All right, I can see it. What do they do tomorrow? Remember, these guys are accumulating to help themselves, not to help us. But eventually, their selling dries up, and they have no choice but to go higher. So that's what I think is going on. Is that people are buying the stock. There's other people buying it. The stock is moving higher, and now it becomes a race to try to get your position. What if tomorrow Lynn folds or Jeffrey calls him in and the stock takes off, and you're the big whale that everybody's talking about? You're sitting there with your 10 million, 20 million shares you want to buy. What do you do with it? You're sitting there looking and saying, I just missed an opportunity to make $1 billion.
What happens in reverse if you start buying in and it takes longer than you thought? Do they just work their way out, or they stay in? That's what he's asking. What if it doesn't squeeze?
If it doesn't squeeze, what have we just talked about for 30 minutes? Go look at the fundamentals.
Exactly.
To me.
Well, that's what makes Finger interesting, is buying it here, regardless of the squeeze. The stock's probably worth $20 or $30 in the future.
You have to look at that, and that makes the trade a lot easier for me. Right. The fundamentals are there. If these big guys are buying the stock, I'm sure they're looking at the same fundamental things that we look at. So again, if they're from Asia, I think they understand what they have in China. It's not like we pitched a bunch of Italians. Right?
Would
We're pitching the Italians the Chinese stock. I think the Chinese know what the Chinese are doing.
would you buy options on the way up as it goes, if it goes?
I am a garbage option player. So meaning that if I own the 4s or the 5s, I'm rotating out of those. Let's say I paid 40 cents for them. They're $1.25. I'm selling them $1.25. I take my dollar profit, let's say, and I buy the 7s at 40 cents or the 8s at 20 cents and say, oh my goodness, now I got, I had 100 calls. Now I got 200 calls and I got money off the table. And I just keep piling in. That's how I do it.
Right. Okay.
I have money on the table, but I have profit in my pocket, and I'm getting bigger with cheaper calls. Just do the math. If you own 20 calls of the 5s, and the stock goes to 10, okay, you're making $5 20 times, all right? If you own 100 calls of the 7s at 30 cents, let's say, you're making $3 100 times. You're making 30,000. So, I mean, you make more on the cheaper calls when we look for a bigger move. I'm here for a big move. I'm not here for a dollar move. If you're here for a dollar move, go buy the 2s.
You still go out for the same dinner afterwards.
Right.
Someone's asking your opinion of DBMM and MMAT, two different stocks.
I don't follow them. I know everyone's got headaches with naked shorts. I spoke with the CEO at DBMM. She's wonderful. That would be someone I'd love to stand behind, but I have no idea what happened in that company. Fighting all those years, I have no idea of the structure. I have no idea. MMMT, I know they just retained West Christian. The stock has got destroyed. They raised money. It's too convoluted for me. I don't know. I can't figure it out.
And someone keeps asking, so he's understanding that you think GTII could trade like VW. I thought you were talking more about Finger, but anyway, maybe it's both.
I'm trying to give you an opinion of what the stocks look like to me. Finger Motion, because of the ownership that just changed, the big insider ownership that changed, is the same curveball that happened in VW. Exactly the same thing. VW all the shares was sucked up by Porsche in a time when the auto industry was collapsing. If you read the story, that's exactly what happened. The shorts woke up one day, and all of a sudden, Porsche owned most of the company, and they were short, and they had to go panic.
It's kind of like it's a bunch of idiots that short everything that goes up, and then once there's news, they go look at it and study it, and they go, "Oh my gosh, we better get out." Otherwise,
that's what people. Well, people are not paying attention to the news that I just told you about.
Right.
The ownership of this company has just been all sucked up by a few people, and no one's paying attention to it. And to me, it's exactly like Volkswagen. Does it go as high as Volkswagen? You know what? Finger Motion is so tightly held. It could be a monster play like this. It could do a monster thing like that. But the curveball that ignited it is exactly the same as Finger is Volkswagen. Exactly. Just go read it and you'll figure it out. GTI is a completely different beast. GTI has been fraudulent. We have fraudulent short sellers that are kamikaze pilots that just kept selling. They even brought in the prime broker, even got caught with no margin money. There's fraud at the Kramers and their accounts. There's fraud at the prime broker, which is unheard of. Prime brokers don't commit fraud. That's the highest level on Wall Street. They were stealing and they got busted.
yeah.
And once you get busted, who knows where this is going to lead to? I think it's going to lead to criminal charges.
Did you call Busy Brands the water boy? He's all.
That's a good name for him, though. I like that. I will from now on.
He's going to change his handle to the water boy. I interrupted you if you were remembering what you're saying, but
I talked about the margin, how the prime broker can change the numbers at any given time. anytime throughout the day. They call you up, put the money up. You don't put the money or the cash or treasuries. They buy you an immediate.
Well, and that's what was different, I think, between Alpine / Kurt Kramer and Jeffries / Jeff Easton. It's probably different.
There's no way Jeffries is not gonna blow up like Credit Suisse over Lynn Partners. There's no way.
Right.
The Kramers and Lynn Partners, the relationship between those two criminals, they were partners in this crime together. When GTI went from $1 to $9, for those who don't know, the stock went from $1.80 to $9. Okay, so there was a squeeze. Every day we reported it. We had calls every day. We discussed the margin. Someone's got to be putting up margin money. These numbers are massive. And nothing ever happens. We couldn't figure it out. It turns out that Alpine was hiding all the trades, obviously, from the margin calls. And they got busted by the DTC for security fraud. That's what's going on here.
Exactly. And the
DTC was nice enough to put in writing for us in a court document. I've never seen one company. Go look at all the guys that get caught naked short selling. Goldman Sachs sold 60 million shares of stock. Mismarked. Did they mention one name of a stock? No, not one. The DTC mentioned GTII. A concentrated short position in GTII is the problem. They didn't say in 60 names. They said in GTII, one name.
How would Jeffries, if you were in Jeffries' shoes, how would you trade the error in Finger?
No, well, they'll start to say, first of all, they're going to stop them from selling. That's the key. And Ned Stark has a beautiful picture, as Pat Burns said. Once they take their foot off the landmine, that's when they blow up, right? That means they stop selling. Once they stop selling, it's like taking their foot off the landmine, it blows up. And that came from Pat Byrne, and Ned Starks was nice enough to put that up there for us to remind us that's what happens.
Ned Stark was amazing. Yesterday he Venmo'd dinner to me. Cash for dinner. Very good man. He's been a GTII Army guy from the beginning. So.
And you know what? I found him in a Cracker Barrel as I was driving down 95. That's where I found him. He was standing on the side of the road selling fireworks.
On his way to North Carolina?
I was driving to Boca Raton, and I pulled over to buy some fireworks, and he was selling them on the side of the road. And I pitched him the stock. That's how we found each other.
He's a great guy. I'm appreciative. He's a good man. So how would Jeffries trade the error? Did you answer that?
Jeffries will first stop them from selling. Once they stop them from selling, it's gonna just rise. It's just like us in Vietnam. We're gonna walk through the woods and there's no one gonna be there, and then it's just gonna keep running. That's what's gonna happen. That'll be your sign.
Can Jeffries avoid taking a huge loss here? I don't think so.
Well, they have to start. Listen, the cat's out of the bag. They're going to have to start turning to buy it.
They're going to have to get cash in or start buying. Exactly.
And Jeffries is going to take a hit, whether it's $1 billion, $2 billion, or $20 billion. Lynn Partners does not have the money, and their friends in Australia are not going to put up billions of dollars to protect a position like this. There is no one on Wall Street that would fund this trade. Zero. If you call Stevie Cohen up and say, I'm short 150 million shares, and he's going to say, you're going to say, well, listen, they got a $20 million margin call. He's going to say, if the stock goes up 20 cents, it's all gone. I can't give you that money. What are you, crazy? No one will do it.
Right. Unfortunately, you brought up GME, so people are asking some what your advice is on AMC and GME, if you have any.
If your companies are not fighting for you, like GameStop has that guy Ryan Cohen now. When he got on board, I told you it was a buy. The stock went up $9, right?
Right.
So you got your first pop on it. What's he doing behind the scenes? This guy is as crazy as I am. He's looking for a short squeeze. He's not doing this to build out a video game store. All right, this guy's looking to make money squeezing Wall Street. So, let it drift sideways for a while, and you can find some cheap out of the money calls on GameStop. AMC, for some reason, they want to kill this company no matter what the company does. These guys, are Julius Caesar. No one should have the right to go to a movie theater. That's, we all brought up going to the movies. I mean, they just want to destroy something that everybody, they don't want it around anymore. I don't know. They just want to kill it. I don't know why, but that's what they're doing.
There's so many questions coming. One guy's asking about MULN.
Listen. Oh, MULN. I wrote a note down about that. I said, look for a special dividend, or look for him to hire some federal authority to oversee the investigation into the stock. My guess is that he's got a federal judge that he knows is going to come out and be part of his team, and that will set the stock up again.
Would this gentleman's following up? Would you sell AMC to buy Finger or part of it?
I don't like to tell you what to do with your stock positions. Again, I'm not following AMC that closely that I could sit there and say, what's going. Again, if you sold it and it went up, I would feel terrible. So I can't, I wouldn't advise you. You have to make that decision. I can't help you with that. I'm sorry.
This is a good question. One gentleman, is it better if he has $5,000? Should he buy Finger or GTII on Monday? Obviously, you can't give personal advice, but of the two,
if it was me, I would split it.
Yeah.
Or do 70-30 or 60-40, or just use $2,500 to buy half and just see what happens at that point. Go in. Listen, look at it this way, people. Owning 100 shares is not. I in my life, I've been in the hottest stocks in the world, and I would make a trade up 30,000 for myself. And I take the whole 30,000, put it in my pocket, and go to a casino or go travel or do some crazy thing, right?
Yeah.
And I always said to myself many years later, why didn't I just hold on to 20 calls? I had 500 of them. I needed to sell them all to grab every penny. Why didn't I just hold on to 20? Because I have to tell you, out of 1,000 stocks, after I sold them, 800 of them continued higher. I'm like, why? And I would have made more money holding on to 20 than I did trading sometimes. I remember one stock, Cheeseboro Ponds. I don't know if anybody remembers this one. It's an old one. I think I made like $27,000 in an hour. I sold it, high-fived everybody. It was a great trade. Went home. The next day, the stock was up 30 more. The next day, I'm like, I would have made a couple $1 million. I mean, just holding on to something. But I was a trader, and and now I look at it saying, if I just own 100 shares of something, at least I can be part of it. In Finger Motion, you know what? If you're not involved, what's the shit? You buy 100 shares, won't kill you. At least you can say you're in it. You didn't miss it. You knew about it. You're never going to make $1 million on one trade. It's very difficult to do. It's it's like getting hit with a lightning bolt. I told you I have a friend where I live. She owned Apple Computer from $20 from 30 years ago, and she never sold it. It's worth millions of dollars. Her name is Eileen. I said, Eileen, are you in a coma? I mean, how'd you never sell this thing? And she just held on the whole time.
Well, some of my wealthiest clients were the ones I never told them to sell anything. They just hung on. Could this gentleman's saying a margin call, but I think he really means a buy-in. Could a buy-in occur pre-market?
Yes. They could have gotten the call today on Sunday. Trust me, they get, these are like, all hands on deck type things. They don't fool around. The brokerage firms are not, listen, the brokerage firms are working on the weekends. They're checking their statements. They're checking their clients. this is a global thing. They're aware what's going on. It could happen tonight. I don't know. Like I told you before, they're not going to call you up and tell you. It's just going to start the Zoom, and you're going to make your own decisions at that point.
Here, same question. Could Finger go above 100? One guy keeps pointing out that there's two other prime brokers, but you already addressed that.
Yeah, it's Fidelity, it's NFS, Fidelity, and TD. Those are more retail oriented. They may do options through there. They may be doing some other small business. They're not hedge fund type firms.
Right.
Jefferies is a hedge fund firm.
Right. Let's see. We talked about the gamma squeeze. We talked about Jefferies and how they trade.
Listen, I wanted to bring up this MMTLP.
Yeah.
It's just, I just can't believe that it's over 200 days that FINRA and the FINRA and the SEC have allowed this to continue. But I will tell you, in my opinion, that the attorneys are going to rip these guys up, and it's going to happen. I don't know when. I don't know how they're going to get out of it, but it's going to cost a lot of money. I think it's going to cost a lot of.
I think it's going to cost a lot of money. It would have been cheaper for them to let it trade, or to settle it sooner.
Instead of it's clearly they were protecting somebody, and they're exposed. And because of MMTLP, GTII and Finger will benefit from MMTLP. GTII and Finger will benefit from Robinhood stopping the buy button. That won't happen again. So there's a lot of things that happen that will benefit the new squeezes coming up behind it.
Are the HKT buyers still looking to come into Finger? This question has come 5 times.
We'll see tomorrow.
Will we be able to sell our calls in a squeeze?
Absolutely. You can sell them anytime.
How long, if it squeezes,
So
how long?
If the stock starts squeezing, I'll give you an example. Let's say the stock is 5 and it opens up at 8, and you want to sell your $5 calls. Okay, and the stock, obviously with the stock at 8, they're worth $3, right? The $5 calls. And the stock starts running, you need to throw them out there just like a stock is a good till cancel. Pick a number, because once options start going, they go fast. They can't go past your offer unless they take you out. So let's say you put them out there at 5. That means the stock's got to be 10, and the stock starts running, and it runs to 980, and it stops. Your probability they'll take your calls because it's a panic to cover. But if you don't have them out there, you won't be able to sell them. So you have to get them out there before. Always put them out there for sale. You can always change the prices.
What I meant is more than one person asked that question. But anyway.
Always put your options out there for sale. Pick a number, change it, but always have them out there.
Kathy Wood is friends of one gentleman here, and hopefully she buys in. What do you think on Kodak? It looks like it's going to run.
Kodak has the benefit of being it was a blue chip, a Dow component, had to squeeze to $60. So if the politicians want to really force the issue, they can really make that happen. We don't have the politicians. GTII and Finger are not saving a city. So we don't have the we're not curing cancer, or we're not saving a city. So we don't have the benefit.
This guy's great. He said to tell you he's kept track of all the possible gains he could have made with his MMTLP money. It's over $3 million so far. Good for you. That's great. Anyway, I think you've addressed it, that you think that it could go on for days if Finger starts squeezing, but somebody's asking how long could the squeeze take?
You can't tell how long it's going to go, but we do know it's 152 million shares. We get the information from Tom Ronk. Tom Ronk gets it from all the dark pools, all the exchanges. He is the real deal when it comes to data. His data is super expensive to buy, okay? And I can't get it for all the stocks, but when I do get it, I get it for finger, and I post it up when I do get it.
She was a woman. I got it wrong.
I posted it for. I got it for Tesla. I made him give it to me for Tesla so we can show. You remember Tesla was breaking 200. Remember that time? It was collapsing.
Yeah.
Think about the poor people who bailed out and it turned it right back to 300.
Yep. That's when I did a Twitter to Elon Musk. I'm sure he read it.
All he has to do at any time is give out a share of a dividend. I think MULN is going to do something. He's got one of my tricks up his sleeve, so let's see what he does next.
Arca's mentioning.
I don't like his timing, but he's definitely got a trick up his sleeve.
Who, Elon? Yeah.
No, MULN, the CEO of that company.
MULN. Yeah, he's got a financing to get out of, but he's got something going on.
Right.
Cash. He's got cash. Arca, this guy mentioned the possible dip in finger. I don't see it happen. Personally, what I think is going to happen tomorrow is fingers going up. But maybe they'll try to attack it. If they do, that's your opportunity to buy, in my judgment, if you want to.
Go look at it. Listen, everyone. I don't want to use what the Wall Street saying on that one, but hey, you do what you have to do. You think it's going down? Wait for the buy it. Think it's going up? I told you what I do. I use the limit. I don't care. I don't give a shit which way you think it's going. I pick a number and I stick to what I believe is a good spot. That's what I do.
Right.
I'm not concerned if I was paying $5 for it. I'd be happy if I paid $5 for it because I believe it's going higher on fundamentals anyway. So what's the difference?
Well, and 5's critical in terms of it's kind of a real stock above $5 as far as institutions.
Again, I've always told you the most important thing, everyone here, volatility needs to go to the upside, meaning the stock needs to go higher. That's when people sell. People on this call, when the stock runs to 8, I guarantee you somebody will make a sale, give their friends a high five, say I made a few bucks and move along. That's when people sell. Pushing it down is just bringing in more buyers. So basically, they trapped themselves. That's what they've done. They did the same thing in GTI. Same thing. They trapped themselves. They were pushing it down to 80. All of a sudden, now they sold all those shares below $1 again, and now the stock's $1.12. So what did they do? They just buried themselves again with all that cheap stock. Now remember, this week the short interest comes out. The real short interest. The moron that is short finger motion, 316,000 shares at $1.50. Okay, take away the cost to carry. Right now he's probably the most he can make is $1.30. I'm just giving you the time and the cost to carry.
How many shares is he short?
316,000.
Okay.
So the most he can make if the company goes to zero is $1.30 times 313,000 shares.
Minus costs.
Well, that is cost. I'm taking it $1.30. I'm taking it out.
Okay.
He shorted it $1.50 over time. Each day he cost him money to play, right?
Right.
So let's say his cost now is $1.30 all in. The most he can make is 313,000 times $1.30. That's it. The stock is almost 5. This moron's down 350, 300,000 times already. Think about that moron. He's down over $1 million, and the most he can make is 400, whatever it is, 350, and he's down over $1 million. There's no one would allow that trade to exist on the books. If you did that trade and didn't cover it, you would be fired because that would show you have the same thought process in every one of your trades. No one would keep you around because you don't know how to take a loss. So we'll see what's going on in Finger. And the same pattern in GTI. I forgot the number, how many shares are short there. But let's see if that person covered the same thing, the real short. Remember, the real shorts are tied to the criminals. Whoever's short the 200 or 300 in Finger and GTII, they're both tied to the short sellers. No one was short these stocks.
But they don't have, it looks like they're not going to have a chance to work their way out of what's left of that trade.
Right.
So,
well, we'll see. 300,000 to buy a Finger.
Yeah.
That would be a nice push through 5 if they had to cover that, right?
And without selling,
Right. So again, There's over 3 million shares short in the options, 300,000 shares of the real short, and 152 million of naked shorts. That's a pretty big short position, like almost 156 million shares all in.
I was misunderstood earlier. I said the question came up 5 times. One guy thought I was directing it only at him, but several people asked it. Several people are still asking this question. If Alpine runs out of money, or if Jeffries runs out of money, who pays for it?
You will. The consumer will pay for it. No, the GTC. Listen, they have their own slush fund. They have to clean up these things. That's why they try to nip it in the bud. They don't like to let these things fester because they turn into big messes. The reason that GTI is still running around is because of fraud, and now they're trying to uncover it. That's what they're doing. They know it exists. They told us it's there. The DTC told you the mess is here. Now
Right.
they have to, all these LLCs, they have to figure out where the hell they're hiding it.
Yep. And I always, there's
The
a,
difference in the case of Lynn is probably been a good client of Jeffries for a while. All the stocks that they lend money to, they destroy, right? So these guys have been nothing but winners over the years, correct?
right.
I don't think Lynn has ever met the force that they met in Finger Motion.
Right.
You know, the William gang. They haven't met the William Hill gang here. All right? They haven't met everybody yet. Now they know that we're not a bunch of stooges, and they have a big problem.
Well,
Okay? So all these years of stealing these nickel and dimes, destroying all these companies, 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, they're going to lose it all in one trade.
because it's the same pattern over and over.
Because
again.
they think their shit doesn't stink and that they can get away with it.
Well, they
And
also
just-
think they're smart and they deserve to make this money. They have no skills other than a legal document that traps CEOs, and they lie. It's
That's
two
exactly
skills.
right. I put it up today. All the stocks, every stock is related. Sedona Corporation, I put up the video. Just change the name. Sedona, GTII. Sedona, put finger. Then they have the lender. The lender was Amro. Amro is the toxic guy. The toxic person is Lynn Partners. The toxic person was the Kramers and Geneva Roth. And that's the same thing. And then the naked short seller firm was Rhino. That was the hired assassin for Amro. They hired them to shoot and kill the company. We don't know the name of the LLC the Kramers used to naked short, and we don't know the name of the LLC that Lynn is using. That's the missing equation, but it's the same pattern. They all sign a document. After we lend you money, we will not short the stock. That doesn't mean their cousin won't or their mother won't. So that's what they do. They do it arm's length away. For example, I think Lynn is much bigger than the Kramers. I think they have an operation somewhere that there's a group of people doing this for them, because those 4 people that we see in the photos, there's no way they could be shorting Bragg, HUBC, SYTA, Finger Motion. This is a trading operation that someone is doing it for them.
Yeah. One gentleman's just pointing out, it's not a question, he thinks Finger will be a $15 billion problem if 150 million shares need to be covered. It's just
Okay, I'm going to give you my opinion, and this is take it with a grain of salt. I believe Finger Motion conservatively is worth $100 on fundamentals over whenever it ticks off and when it really gets to go. These idiots that are short 152 million shares of stock, whatever the number is, 153, they can make this, what I believe is going to happen in 2 to 3 years, it could happen in 2 to 3 hours. So that's what it is.
Yep, that's it.
That's my opinion on the whole subject there. GTII, we're fighting complete criminals that are trapped, and we're going to catch, and basically adding the fundamentals to the equation. I've always told you fundamentals to me are not a big thing. I got into Finger for fundamentals, and it turned into now I'm fighting a short seller. I mean, it's just the complete opposite of why I was here. I thought I could just buy the stock and hold on forever and not pay attention. But the criminals came around, so that's why I decided to fight. All right, but again, GTI is a different beast. It's got a massive short. It's got a super educated shareholder base. Everyone I talk to, my nephew goes to Clemson. He owns the stock. Everyone that is friends at Clemson understands it. And they all follow this guy Ham on Twitter.
So does your family. They all follow him.
They don't listen to me. They follow him. That's a true story. And my daughter yelled at me. She goes, Ham said this. I said, well, go call him up. Don't ask me.
I don't know if you watched any of it, but the Djokovic match got suspended for.
Yes, I saw it. I was watching it.
But
I have to tell you, I actually fell asleep on it. But
two
I know
tiebreakers.
Yes.
They were just on serve the whole way. It's unbelievable how he won.
Listen, I think we had a good night. I think that any questions, I answered them all. I think that looking at it from a distance, I think GTI can have a Sam Frank Eddie run. That went to $1,500. It could go higher, but I think it's got the same pattern as Sam Frank Eddie. I'm not going to sit here and say it's GameStop. I'm using my own opinion. I think this is different. I think it's a safeguard scientific squeeze. I think that finger motion is a VW type squeeze. Obviously, I told you that the same pattern is that the ownership has changed, and that's the same thing that happened to Catalyst for Volkswagen. Go read it. It's right there. Look at the CEO of Finger Motion and the fundamentals. I went over what I believe is right on the nose. You can go see the numbers, put the numbers together yourself, and, just make your decision. I can't talk about the $8 and the $7 calls till they open up tomorrow. If they open the $7 calls at an eighth or a teeny, at $6.6 or $12, I'm dating myself for using fractions.
I always have to date myself.
So if they open the sevens down and the eights at pennies, to me those are screaming buys.
So you're not saying wait for those high numbers. Obviously, people should take money off the table.
William, what did you pay for the twos when we first started?
I think I paid 25 cents for the twos.
25 cents. They went to $3.
Yeah.
To $3.
Well, I sold 12 of them at $2.30. So I was stupid.
All right. So I'm just saying, but the high end, those things went to. I think they went to 5. But they went to 5. 3 plus the 2 is 5, right?
Right.
So those were worthless.
Well, I sold them when the stock was $5.30, $4.30.
I'm just saying,
$4.30.
I'm just trying to show people that the twos were worthless.
Right.
They were 25 cents.
Right.
The threes were 10 cents. The fives were a nickel. They were all pennies, nickels, and dimes. Okay,
Right.
so here's something everyone thought. Oh, it's July. All these options went ballistic. Okay, and it's not over yet. I'm just saying, but trash options went crazy. If you bought 500 calls at a dime and sold them at $1, you made a tremendous payday.
Well, I think you mentioned it already, but we were trying to add it up. There's thousands of call options and virtually no puts, which...
the call ratio, is that what you're trying to explain?
Yes, the put-call ratio.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. I mean, you don't want to be with the crowd sometimes, but this time you do, I think.
Yeah, listen, I can't see being on the put side. I just don't see. The fundamentals tell me it's going higher. Obviously, there's someone that's trapped that has a huge problem. We all know about it. There's big buyers around. I can see it. I can feel it. You have to be able to understand it. The stock's been moving up gradually every day, and they've been attacking it every day, and the stock keeps going higher.
Let me ask you this. If the stock has caused trouble for Jeffries, and Jeffries is asking for more money this weekend, if they open it down 50 cents, does that help them?
Oh, anything helps them. Yeah, sure.
All right. But it's got to stay down, right?
But if they can't, they may be able to sell 100,000. They may be able to call up a couple of friends and say, you got to help me out. You got to knock it down. But any attempt to knock it down is going to be short-lived because it's just a hired gun for the day. That's all it is.
Right. And they'll cover by the end of the day.
That's what, if for anybody who understood, the guy Timothy Sykes, who attacked GTII when the stock was 9, I believe he was a paid assassin brought to us by Alpine or the Kramers, and they naked shorted it down, trying to break the back of the stock, which they did. They were just a bear raid. That's all they did.
You can join his service and make $100 a day.
Right. That's what they were doing. Anyway, listen, have a great night. We'll be ready for battle in the morning. And remember,
You're the best.
If you're in Wall Street, you have to do some work on the weekends. This isn't just like, throwing darts, all right? Your mind has to be on it. Whatever stocks you're in, whether it's Kodak, GameStop, AMC, be ahead of the curve. Don't get run over by the bus. Learn what you're doing. This is how you make big money. Stevie Cohen did become worth $16 billion, whatever it is, just by guessing. He studied all the time. When you sat down with him, he talked about stocks all the time, whether it was breaking out, breaking down, what he liked to accumulate. And they had groups of people, and they used to sit down. They used to have dinners, and used to have idea dinners, and that this SEC banned it. But they used to have 10 guys, and people would throw a dinner. Everybody come with their best ideas. Everybody talks about ideas. You can't cover all these names. If you have a great idea, tell William. We all want to know what it is. You got a scoop on something. Let's hear what it's about.
It's only with education that you know when a stock's down if you should buy it, or if it's up if you should sell it, or vice versa. It's only with knowledge.
Sometimes there's a company falling from, for example, that Silicon Valley Bank.
Right.
When it fell from 500 at $50, I would have stepped in and bought it. I would have got crushed because I didn't really understand what the hell was going on.
Right.
But it down from 500, I'll take a shot at 50. I would have got wiped out. It went to 0. That's because I didn't understand it. But if I understood what was going on, I never would have stepped into it, right?
Right.
They always tell you, don't catch a falling knife. And that was the falling knife time. So again, but if I had the education, I would have got involved.
Right.
Anyway, listen, have a nice night.
You're the best. Thank you very much.
I'm going to go warm up and start taking my pot gummies and go into...
One guy said, you're a household name. Everyone appreciates you. You're making people knowledgeable and making them money. So he says thank you.
Listen, I'm an old dinosaur. Understand it. People taught me. I learned, I was around the guy from Millennium Capital, Izzy Englander. My brother worked with him, so I've seen the biggest and the best. Izzy runs $10 billion now. So I was with Stevie Cohen. I've seen all these guys, how they operate. If you are around it, you understand it. You know how to avoid I'm an expert in how to take a loss.
And so are they. That's the thing. Once they start buying, the stock's going up. They don't trade it. They just buy it.
These guys thought the games, the Kramers and Lynn, the game was rigged. We unrigged it and now trapped them.
Right.
All right? Their rigging days are over.
That's right.
Okay? Now they have to take a loss. And this isn't a loss. This is a wipeout. This isn't a loss. These are wipeouts. These are potentially jail terms for these guys. So think about what you're fighting. You're fighting someone that's going to jail. Just look what happened to the guy from, what's that guy's name again? For Arkelos, whatever his name is.
Bill Wong.
Everybody ratted on each other, and they're all going to jail. Okay? So once they blew up, everyone starts talking, oh, he was the fraud. Get him, save my ass. That's what's going to happen here.
Right.
All right, everyone. Have a great night. We'll speak in the morning.
All right. Sleep tight. All right. Well, it's I don't know how long we've been on. It's 8:11. No, sorry, 9:11. I'll go to 9:30 unless it gets more exciting than it is right now. But I want to try to chill out and get up early, because I believe, and I don't know if we got to everyone's questions, and to the one gentleman, I'm forgetting who it was. When I said that the question was asked 5 times, there were more than one person asking that same question about HKD money, so I didn't mean to offend you. But it's hard. One, it's hard to ask a question when Ham gets on a roll. And 2, it's hard to remember as the questions are rolling down. So I try to do my best to get every question asked. I know I probably missed some. Oh yeah, the feds will be there to close the barn door. And Glad Hand, I'm sorry, I should have seen the Deb at the end of your name. I don't know what a Glad Hand is, but maybe it's these lives are much better with you and Ham only. With Ham. So I'm not going to be able to say, because I can't read my writing, Igorius. I just want to let you know that my grandfather was from Lithuania, and so I'm part Lithuanian, and so I'll say spokojnej noci to you. I was trying to remember how to say "kak dela," I think. How are you? "Kak dela." Anyway, yeah, Igorus. I have a couple good friends here in town that I haven't seen in a while from Lithuania. Great people. Glad hands are the metal pieces on the air hoses. So they keep your hands protected from the hose, I guess. Glad hand hooks up the truck to the trailer with the airlines. Okay, but why they call it glad hand? I guess you glad hand somebody. When you see someone at the party, you glad hand them. You put your hand over them. I guess that's why. Can I recap for those that just tuned in? My opinion, you can replay this, but my opinion tomorrow for Finger, and there's a lot of discussion. When's one going to go or the other? I think Finger is going, which is why we're talking about it. I don't believe that this is something that we collectively are causing. I think there's a buyer in there who has been accumulating now for 2 or 3 weeks. Somebody took it off the bottom at around $1.40, and now we're approaching $5.40, and I don't think whoever that is has stopped. So sometimes we can't control the timing, but I don't think, for me, I think both stocks are going to go at the same time. If they don't, I think the fact that Finger might run first will be helpful to GTII. I also think that if one or both move, or it's some other stock, I think it's going to help MMTLP, because then what will the liars be able, the journalists that lie and the pretenders at the regulators be able to say to Congress? There'll be, the dead bodies will be all around. You can't hide them. So, well, I've been trying to suggest to everyone that wealth, it's not going to be your grandfather's wealth or your parents' wealth, at least over the next decade or so. there's going to come a point of time where there could be a drastic reduction in the value of what you call money. So I don't think you need to risk all your money, but you can buy 100 shares. I'm not even telling you, you don't have to buy. I really do not believe that in the case of Finger right now, and even in GTII, both these stocks are gaining momentum. The biggest buyer is going to be when Jeffries, if it's Jeffries, tells Lynn Partners and all their associates, boys, you owe us some money. And if you don't bring it in by wire in the next 15 minutes, we're going to buy you in. Well, I can't give you specific advice, of course, but if I were in AMC, I would be tempted to sell it because it's basically dollar for dollar, I think. Go into Finger. And the way I would look at it in my mind is Finger has the same upside potential that AMC has if you believe the bulls in both sides, or the bull, the BS. But I think AMC has proven to be, every time it runs up, they get it back down, up, down. It just seems to be stuck in quicksand for a while. But I don't know the story. But one strategy would be, all right, I'm selling AMC at I don't even know where it's trading, 4 or 5, 450. I'm taking my losses. I'll go into Finger. If Finger runs over the next 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and there's never any guarantees. But if it runs, it's not like I'm missing out on AMC running, because AMC could run, Finger could run. Then 31 days from now, I can always buy back into AMC, maybe, assuming it may be lower. And I've established a tax loss that, believe it or not, you can take $3,000 against your income every year, and you can take against gains. So I think it's a good strategy. Reverse split. I don't know. Well, I think the AMC CEO is interpreting his job as keeping the company running, damn the shareholders. And then he's probably getting legal advice on that. But it's just the classic situation. It's called cram down. These financiers come in and new money, you just got to look at it. New money that comes into a situation doesn't want to pay off debt, doesn't want to help out people that already invested. They want the returns on their side. So normally it's a cram down. And that's what's going on at AMC as I see it. Oh, AMC's going to do a reverse split. Well, I showed the example. I don't know where my board is, but I showed the example. If you have, in the case of Finger Motion, this is what COSM did. This is what other companies did. But if you have 150 million shares short in your accounts of Finger, ostensibly, let's just say they're honest and they do everything by the book, they would need $2.50 a share to maintain that position. So they need 375. They need 375 million as the maintenance requirement. Well, if you come through and you do a 1 for 10 or a 1 for 100, 100 for 1 reverse split. Let's just do 100 for 1 reverse split. Then you only have, if you do a 100 for 1 reverse split, then you only have 1.5 million shares out. So you cancel that. So guess what? On 1.5 million shares, you only need $2.50 per share. You only need to hold that position. You only need $3.75 million. So the shorts get to take out over $370 million out of their account. It's a way that the shorts can get the money out of their account. And then they start selling it back down. So you're just helping the shorts when you do that, if you're a CEO. They want to merge APE back into AMC. Why'd they move it out in the first place? They want to merge APE back into AMC. Well, they put it out at a higher price. They're buying back in at a low price, I guess. Anyway, I don't want to think about AMC. I want to think about Finger. Randy, I don't know if he said 1,500, but maybe he did. You'd have to go back and listen again. But his point on GTII and Finger, the thing that you have to conceptualize is once the shorts stop selling and the prime brokers buy in, or the broker dealers buy in the positions, there's only one way, and it's up. No, I don't think Ham knows more about DBMM than he lets on. The problem with DBM, there's three problems with DBMM. One is it's essentially seller boxed, and it's going to be really hard to get up out of zombie land. Two, the short position, while large, 2 to 2.5 billion shares, it trades a lot of shares every day. So I don't, there's a lot of shorting. But three, if it is the Kramers only, and if Ham had watched it every day, he could tell you the status. But I'm not sure it is only the Kramers in DBMM. It might be that they came on at the end. But there's no daily tracking of that over the last 2 or 3 years. I like the CEO. I think she's fighting, and that's not her title, but the woman in charge. And I like the appeal of if Alpine goes down, they may have to buy back the shares. But I think there's risk in DBMM. Seller boxed. You go in the basement, the cellar, the wine cellar, you're boxed in the cellar. You can't get out. You got it down in the cellar, and you're boxed in. You're what it means is the Kramers and the Lynn partners and all these kind of guys, they try to get stock prices down to 0.0001 and even no bid. But the CEOs continue working, continue going on. There's no 1099. They do these reverse splits. There's no 1099. They can take that money out, and they use in the document. There's a default event of default if you're delisted, and then they say, well, to maintain listing, you got to do a reverse split. It's just a way for the thieves to get money out without paying taxes. I don't know why this is all allowed. I really don't. The Kramers have made probably tens of millions, hundreds of millions. The Hurries, Lynn Partners, but they're just they're doofuses. Don't know what they're doing on Wall Street, and they're imitating, and they're doing it across the street, and there's hundreds of them. There's no particular skill. No trading desk would hire them. No law firm would hire them. They're just faces of fraud. And I don't know why journalists, TV personalities, congressmen, professors, senators, regulators defend this. I just don't know why. It does not help anybody. The one place it helps maybe is guys like Ken Griffin and other hedge funds. It may help BlackRock. It may help Goldman Sachs and those kind of, but it doesn't help the markets. It puts the entire financial system at risk, and the amount of leverage in the United States stock market because of this is enormous. It's also in the bond markets. And when somebody says the emperor is not wearing any clothes, you're going to see wealth disappear like you unclogged a drain. Even with MMAT being tracked, are they still shorting it? Look, MMAT did a deal, Pistol Pete. They did a bad deal, and I haven't studied it enough. I have sympathy for them because they borrowed money. Sorry, the other way around. What's now NextBridge borrowed money from MMAT. Well, it's actually MMTLP, and I don't think they got that money back yet. Everything's tied up with lawyers and all that. But I think MMAT's in a difficult spot. It's a great company, but there's so many great companies, so many great ideas. The problem is the criminals destroy the denominator. You can start with 1 million shares. By the time they're done, there's 2 billion shares out. So the value of what you're doing gets so dispersed. It's just not even worth being a public company. And your financial system, your government, there are no journalists, your pretend journalists and pompous buy guys on CNBC, they ridicule you for noticing that this is going on. But why do they protect it? It's destroying America. It's almost like the CCP bribed every politician and son they could find, and if they became president, that president had to continue. And I think it might have started all the way back, tentatively with the Clintons and then it got worse and worse and worse, and now it's in full bloom. But maybe this is China's way of trying to destroy our financial might and our industrial might. I think our industrial might's already over in China and elsewhere. But who is it benefiting? It's got to stop. No, Wolf isn't done. I wish I owned Wolf. I did own Wolf. I sold it to get into, I think, GTII when GTII was down. I can't remember. But no, I don't think Wolf is anywhere near done. All I remember about Wolf is because I've tried to raise money and I've worked with natural gas companies primarily to set up, what do you call it now? It's not the data center. It's just cheap energy to set up the mining process for Bitcoin and others. And so I've studied it somewhat. I'm by no means an expert. But then when you hear that Wolf, and you can just read, you can read this, but Wolf is basing their source of energy on excess capacity at nuclear power plants. It becomes a compelling story because they need the energy to mine. So no, Wolf got shorted by Yorkville advisors. So there's no magic to any of these stories. Criminals sell stock that doesn't exist with the acquiescence of Gary Gensler and the SEC, FINRA, Goldman Sachs. The back offices look the other way. They stuff your accounts with electronic shares so you don't know if you have real or not. And they're just trying to imitate the fractional reserve banking system. That's all they're doing. They're counting on the fact that most people, 99% of people, will not ask for physical delivery of their shares. And if there's a cash dividend, they can handle it. If they make money lending it out, it's organized crime. And it's Wall Street stealing from you. And you look up to these guys. I don't think there's a single one that's going to come out of this with a good reputation. I don't see one of them. I'm talking about the top people. I think most people on Wall Street are scrupulously honest. But I'm talking about the toppermost. Hey, Clay Schoolfield. I hope I'm excited about Finger tomorrow. Aaron, if it goes to 6, it could go to 25. It's been as high as 9 or 10 and pulled back, 16 or 17. So I'll wait until a good video to watch MMTLP is called MMTLP from a legal expert. Yeah, okay. I'll be more convinced that it's going to break out. Well, you'll know once it starts moving, and it could happen at 6. But call me a little cautious. I think it'll go to 6, 8, 13, 21, and once it breaks through there, then I think it could really run. So I'm going to say breakout could happen in the teens or in the 20s rather than at 6. But it doesn't matter. Once it starts to go, you're not going to be able to grab. There won't be any straps for you to grab onto. Yes, Finger and GTII will trade together. I don't know what exactly is going on with Finger, but for the last 3 weeks, it's up from $1.40 to $5, basically, $4.40, and a lot of volume. So something's up with Finger, and I think there's various theories, major buyers in there, fundamentals, but the real theory to test is if the stock goes over $5.27, do the algorithms switch from selling to buying? I believe the companies that are supposed to squeeze and they're in the limelight will never squeeze. They won't let them. Well, that's one thought. But Kevin, who's going to pay for it if they don't let them? Kevin, you're just assuming that everyone on Wall Street wants to join in. That's like saying in your neighborhood, the kid down the block got in trouble with gamblers. And rather than have anything go wrong in the neighborhood, guys coming in with guns or baseball bats, everyone in the neighborhood's going to bail that kid out. It's just not going to happen. It's just not. Yeah, MMAT could kaboom. That's true. But anyway, you can talk about other stocks right now. And it's purely up to you. But the stock that's moving, the stock that seems to have everything going for an imminent squeeze is Finger. GTII also has moved from around 79 cents to $1.10. It also looks like it's moving. They're sitting in front of you. You can go buy stocks that may move down the road, or. But anyway, I'm not telling you what to do. I see them squeezing together. Well, Kevin, they don't probably want stocks that we talk about to squeeze. I think that's why certain companies like I think COSM very opportunistically came and took a lot of money out of our pockets and stopped a squeeze. Whether it was intentional or not, who knows? But I think the system knew what it was doing. And it kneecapped a lot of us. People lost money. They lost momentum. So I do think your theory might be correct, that there's a tendency, if we're talking about it, they don't want us to make money. But this is almost narcissistical in a way, because we're too small. We are too small to have the effect on the stock prices that I think are about to happen. And, I've tried to make some judgment calls. I still think GTII is the best setup, primarily because you've got the company on your side. But right now, Finger, I think, is going first. William GNS Hamilton's Bish for agreeing to shut up. I don't know what a Bish is, but there's a new whale on Wall Street, and it's retail. That's a good one, Glad Hand Deb. That's Jenny would like that one. She could make a poem about it. There's a new whale on Wall Street, and it's retail. Merle Haggard could write a song. How many billions damage for Finger? I don't know. There's disagreement if there's 150 million shares naked in the stock. I believe that number is accurate, but I've been told by smarter people than I am there's no way there's that much. So I don't know. But assuming it's 150 million and the buy-in happens at $10, well, that's I guess that's $1.5 billion. If it happens at $100, that's $15 billion. It's a lot of money. And by the way, these firms don't have that much cash hanging out. They live in a world of getting money overnight to cover their margin, and then it's a constant ratings game. And this is what happened to Shearson and ultimately to Bear Stearns. They couldn't get overnight money anymore, and they went down. And that's what will happen to a prime broker. I don't know what AGNC is. I don't know what BISH means for GNS, but fish maybe. I think we're close to getting physical with Wall Street players. I don't know. I'm not advocate of violence or fighting. I think the way to get even with these guys is you make money and they lose it. That's what I think. They've been stealing your money for years, so. NJ, 2 new computers. I'd love to know how to do that. Well, Kiplini, maybe, people go to the pitchforks. I don't know. Gerald Salente always says that when people lose everything, they lose it. And this might be... They're not going to U3 halt it. MMAT is a genius company, but is it divided by 10 million shares or 50 billion shares? You just don't know that answer. Yeah, I know. We need something to go our way. I think that's what's going to... Oh, it's a REIT. Well, Kit, remember it. I want to ask you about it later, but I'm too tired to do it right now. Hey, Clay. I'm missing a question here, so there's one. I'm forgetting what it was. I have to give up. It's something I was going to answer. Hey, not legal advice. I hope you're doing well. Let me just see what time it is, because I haven't eaten. I mean, if there's something to talk about, I'll go to 10 o'clock, but then I'll say goodnight. I, you know, not that I know, but what's my prediction for GTII? Look, Richard, I think, oh, the U3 halting. That's what it was. Thank you. I don't think the U3 is going to happen here with Finger or GTII. That was a unique situation where no one looks at this, and there's 104 or 5 broker dealers, I believe, calling in to FINRA and saying, "Are you crazy? We can't do this. We're not going to buy anybody in without better guidance from you. You didn't give us enough time. We've got legal exposure here, and there's no way we can solve this problem by Monday or Tuesday." And FINRA stopped trading because there's a rule that says, they're lawyers, and they found the rule that said, if they're not confident that they can settle, I forget what it said, that they can settle the trades, they can stop trading or deliver the shares or something. It was just an excuse because they had this huge problem of delivery. MMTLP is different simply because it was being transferred into a private company. These shares, all of these kind of trades are still in this ether of electronic shares where they defraud you and they give you, please, it is simply taking the model of the fractional reserve banking system. And if you remember the movie, It's a Good Life, well, Bob, your money's in Alice's house, and Alice, your money's in Jim's store, and Joe, your money's at Bill Bailey's farm. It's, fractional reserve banking, and that's what they're doing with securities. And they know that you're not going to ask for your physical securities. It's all electronic. There's no type 1 anymore. It's all type 2. And they have arbitration clauses. They've got it all set up to steal. But what happened with MMTLP, it got physical. All of it. All at once. And they had to stop trading. Stop asking if they're going to use U2, U3 halts. The system is not set up entirely against you, but they're not for you either. But the system, in the case of MMTLP, there's 105 broker-dealers. I have sympathy for FINRA. I would imagine 15 at the most of those broker-dealers were, how do you say it, actively looking the other way. The rest had no clue what was going on. They just want out of the situation. And they're all caught up in this legal morass now. But what you're having a hard time seeing is that somebody is buying Finger. It's not you or me. What, 100 shares? 20 calls? That's not moving the market. Somebody is buying. Somebody is accumulating the shares. And then this is causing stresses in the system. It's called fat tail. It's called black swan. It's just, don't think that people like Jeff Easton have models. He's just an idiot. But they model everything. And it's a beta and a gamma and a delta and a alpha, and if we sell, well, then we just keep selling, and we'll just sell, and if it's up, well, across a broad suite of stocks, we just keep selling, and if one's up, the rest will be down, and we'll make money. And they put it all in their computers, and this is their strategy, as if they're great financial geniuses. And then when they get in trouble, they go to the taxpayer to get bailed out. They go to you. And when they get in trouble, they inflate so your dollar buys less. I mean, BlackRock is buying up every door in the country so they can get in the landlord business. Why? It's a way of making cash flow, so they can get a piece of that action. Welfare. People get welfare now. Morgan Stanley and one other company, they do the cards, so they get a piece of every bit of that. We don't need these bankers doing all this shit. The government could do it. I know we got to be Republican and let private industry do it. Why does the government need Morgan Stanley to issue these cards and take 4 or 5 or 6% out every time it's used? Why? I'm starting to think Marx was right. Scary thought. Let's see what Jenny wrote. I need to go. You need to eat to keep your sweet, then deliver the wisdom we seek. Sometimes you have to repeat. So make a treat and take a seat because you're beat. All right. How do you insure your money over $250? You can't insure it. But I mean, if I were on, I'll finish on that. I'll finish on two things. Somebody asked me to predict GTII. I think it's a little easier to predict Finger. I think Finger, despite whatever efforts they make, is going to go up tomorrow. If they're successful somehow keeping it down, it's only a matter of time that it goes up. And I think Finger's going to go at least to the 10 range and then to the 15, 17 range. But I really think it's going to be much, much more than that. And I think it'll start tomorrow. GTII, I think, is going to run too simultaneously. My guess on GTII is it'll be delayed slightly. But GTII has a massive upside. You guys are all focused on the legal. Alpine got an injunction. It's going to take longer. Well, I tell you what doesn't take any time at all is if GTII goes to 9, 10, 15, there won't be any choice. It won't be a judge making the decision. It won't be a court that John Hurry can file hey, wait a minute, we don't want to pay our margin call. The buy-in will come, and they'll be wiped out. So that's what I think will happen in GTII. If I had $250,000 separate, I think first you got to pay off debt. You could argue with me, and might be right, that in a crisis, your home mortgage will be safe. But Obama, the next FDR, did nothing. Zero. Not a single banker was arrested. Not a single one. And people continued to lose their houses. So I'm not judging him. He was in over his head, as it turns out. But I'm not sure that your mortgage debt will, that I don't think there'll be an FDR, but there might be. But there's other debt you need to get out of, I think. And then I think you need to have some cash at home in small denominations. If there's a crisis, ATMs will not work. So you want small denominations. So when you go buy a head of lettuce, a jug of milk, gasoline, you don't have to ask for change because there won't be any change. And I think you should have a little bit of gold and silver. You should have food and water, or know that you have access to it. You should be friends with your neighbors if you can be. And don't talk to people if you have a bunch of money. Don't tell them at home. I wouldn't leave a lot of money in the system, but one thing you could do is just buy T-bills if you're going to have cash. T-bills are paying, I think, 4 or 5% right now. Buy them out a month, buy them out 60 days, and then just roll them. That's U.S. Treasury. If you believe the way I believe, the problem is we might be at war, but I think a better currency might be the ruble or the yuan or the rupee. But we live here. We live in the United States. So rolling money in T-bills. But, if you leave your money at brokerage firms, you can lose access to it. It doesn't belong to you. In a crisis, they'll take it from you. And then you'll have to go to lawyers to get it back. And it takes a long time for lawyers to figure out what happened. And by the time that happens, you could be in your pine box. I would this idea that Kitteridge has, income, I think I would buy, if I had 250 sitting to put somewhere, I would also look into pipelines. And there's a list of them. I don't want to give out any names off the top of my head because some are not as safe as others. But I think if you can own income off of oil and gas, whatever oil and gas is worth now, it'll be worth then, even if it is in a new currency. All right. Who's the new whale on Wall Street? That would be retail. They tried to make us fail, but now we hold the Holy Grail, and now it's time to spin a new tale. Who's the whale on Wall Street? Whale. Who's the whale on Wall Street? Whale. So, all right, it's 10 o'clock even, and I said I would quit. Time to go. It won't be long. We'll see it. Yep. I got it. I'm going to go because I haven't eaten. It's 10 o'clock. I want to eat a little bit. And then I want to think a little bit. And I think each of us should be watching. And just to repeat myself, by focusing on finger, I'm not withdrawing from GTII or any other idea we've had. It's just, it seems that finger is happening now. That's all. It's like catching a wave. And we'll see if we're right. They're going to try to keep it down tomorrow, but on the other side of it, Jeffries is going to be asking for money. I don't agree with what Ham said, I think, because maybe he didn't understand how I asked it. I think if Jeffries, and this is my own experience, if Jeffries was asking Lynn for money or whomever, over the weekend, even if they get it down 50 cents. I don't think Jeffrey's going to change the request for money. Maybe they'll reduce it a little bit, but money has to come in. So, all right. Hey, Ace, how are you? Thanks for signing in. I'm about to sign off because I wonder what's happening with that. Do I need to be worried? All right, Ace, you did a great video, and I'm yes, I'll quit now before you drive me up a wall. All right, Jenny. Thank you. Is Jenny, was that Tom Hanks's girlfriend? Thank you, Jenny. All right. So peace, love, and happiness, and hang in there. Get up early. Don't chase tomorrow morning. But if it starts to run a little bit, maybe buy a quarter or a half, bid for the rest. I think they're going to try to hurt it in the morning, but the countervailing force is there may be a buy-in at some point. So I think it's going to be up tomorrow. And to answer, I think it was Vanci's question, I think it will go through 5 tomorrow. That's just my prediction. So anyway, all right, so sayonara, and spokojnej noci.